Welcome, welcome. It is Peggy McColl, and I am delighted to be back with you. We are going to be investing some time together here today, and I want to welcome you and let you know that what we're going to be covering in the next 30 minutes or so is what are the evening rituals of the very successful, of multimillionaires, millionaires. What are their evening rituals? Good evening, Swiss Miss. Good to have you guys back again. And we normally do our live events for approximately 30 minutes. We have a number of questions that have been asked in advance, so I will be sure to get to those questions. I want to welcome you all here. We've got Facebook going live. Hi, Sonova. Good to see you here. Pamela's here. Adele. We've got many people joining us already on Instagram. Laurette, welcome. And we are also on YouTube Live. Hi, Yasir and Yvette. Good to see you also. And as you know, what we're going to be covering in this session here together, because we're capturing it on video, it will be saved. And you can review this on my YouTube channel if you desire. You can review it on my Facebook friends or my Facebook page as well. And therefore, stay connected. So let's first talk. Hi, Mark. Good to see you as well. Thank you for joining us. So let's talk about what are the evening rituals of highly successful people and or multimillionaires. What are they? And I'm going to focus on three particular rituals, just to keep it simple. You may or may not already be doing this. And if you are, that's great. Keep doing it. Maybe even work on honing it in. And if you haven't been doing these rituals in the evening, then you may want to do them. Now, I will suggest some other things as well that you can do before you go to bed, but I want to highlight three in particular, and then I'll talk about some additional ones as well. And the three highlights that I'm going to share with you are three rituals that I know many people are incorporating and are following along in the evening. And then they could be rituals that you may find to be you're very attracted to and that you want to incorporate them in your life. So the first one is that as you're getting ready to go to sleep, and this is a later evening ritual. So you're getting ready to go to sleep, and you're laying in bed and you're still consciously awake. You're aware. You have an awareness. You're consciously awake. And it's just prior to when you fall asleep. What you do is you ask yourself this question. And what I suggest is that you write down this question and put it on either a little index card or put it on a little sheet of paper and put it beside your bed. Now, I actually have this question engraved on a piece of wood that I keep beside my bed. But when I'm traveling, as I am right now, I also have it on a sheet of paper. And I have this sheet of paper inside my gratitude journal, which is always beside my bed. And the reason why I put my gratitude journal beside my bed is because it is one of the rituals that I engage in every single morning. And I talked about that in another session that I did on the morning rituals of the highly successful and of multi-millionaires. And so this question is the following. Now that your dream, and you could write it, now that my dream is fulfilled, how do I feel? And think about that for a moment. Just think about it right now. Think about you living your dream life. Think about you have achieved your biggest goal, your greatest goal that you have. How are you feeling? And if you would please, for those of you that are on the different platforms right now, if you would type in your answer to that question. So now that you know your dream has been fulfilled or your goal has been realized, and you can change the words. If you'd rather say, now that my dream is fulfilled, then say that. If you'd rather say, now that my goal has manifested, then say that. Or now that my outcome is here in my life now, then you can say that. So start it whatever way you want. My particular question says, now that your dream is fulfilled, how do you feel? But actually, it doesn't say you, it says I. So now that your dream is fulfilled, or now that my dream is fulfilled, how do I feel? And so when you connect to that and you think about how you're feeling, with regard to you having your goal manifested in your life, a number of different emotions come up depending on who's answering the question. Amazing is one of the words that we see. Sometimes we'll see people respond with the word relieved. Others will respond with the word grateful. Some people will respond with the word happy. Some people will respond with the word ecstatic, extremely happy, baffled, says Mark, free, joy. And so as we see, from the comments that we're receiving from people that are responding to this, blessed, thank you for that, Christina. That's a great response. We're seeing a number of different types of response. Light, I like that, Neil. Neil wrote light. Neil feels light now that their dream is fulfilled. And when you become embodied in that emotional experience, like really swimming in the idea and the knowing that it's already done, and then you drift off into sleep, what happens is you've planted that straight into your subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind doesn't have any ability to accept or reject. And it is most impressionable. Your subconscious mind is most impressionable at that time in the day, just before you drift off into sleep. Because what happens is your mind is still at work. Your mind is still active, even though you've fallen asleep. So you're not consciously awake, but your subconscious is still at work because your subconscious never sleeps. And therefore, what you're thinking about in those few moments before you drift off into sleep is going to determine what is going to show up in your life most of the time. And when you know that, whatever you're thinking about before you drift off into sleep is going to be determining what's showing up in your life most of the time, of course you would want to be thinking about only the things that you want to experience in your life, right? Yes. So I want to ask you, all of you that are on board with me right now, either you're on YouTube, Instagram, or Facebook Live, how many of you are willing to do this exercise tonight? I want to see some commitments from you. How many of you are willing? Just type in, yes, Peggy, I'm on board, or yes, or give me the thumbs up, something. I want to know. Thank you, Tammy, for writing that down. I want to know that you're on board with following through with this evening. And then, yay, says Tammy. She says, me. Thank you very much. Yes, says Mark. Wonderful. Okay, great. Perfect. I'm committed. Okay, I'm seeing lots of, I am. Yes, I will. Yes. Peggy, I'm on board. Thank you. Menakshi? Yes, I'm in. Definitely, says Genevieve. Okay, perfect. Okay, great. Thank you, guys. I'm really happy to see that you are. Yes. Lots of yes. Yes, I am. Yes, I'm already doing this, says Emeld. Anyways, I'm not sure the name, but wonderful. Okay, Celine says yes. All right, so I've got you committed to do it tonight. What I'd love for you to do, especially if you've written this on a little card or put it on a sheet of paper that'll be beside your bed, is do it again tomorrow night, and then the next night, and then the next night, and the next night, until it becomes habitual practice for you. And one of the things that you can do is, if you are someone that, when you're heading to bed, you're quite tired, and this still works. It doesn't matter if you're really tired or not. But if you're somebody who maybe has a challenge getting into new practices, what I suggest that you do is put that question on a big sheet of paper and then tape it to the wall or tape it to your nightstand or put it right there where you cannot miss it. All right. And the reason why I'm starting out with this particular recommendation as the first thing as a nighttime ritual is because it has proven to be the most impactful thing that you can do before you drift off into sleep. You see, what most people do is they start thinking about what their challenges are, or they start thinking about what's not there, or they start worrying about something. And when you get quiet and you start to lay down and you start to get quiet and your mind starts to work, if your mind is focusing on something you don't want, what can happen is you end up getting out of bed because you're worried or you're stressed, and you get back on your computer or on your electronic device. And that's actually one of the worst things that you can do, because it's just fueling it and giving it more energy. So sometimes this might take a little bit of practice to really switch your mind off of what you don't want over to what you want. So just know it may take a little bit of time. It may take practice. It's going to take some practice until you get to a point where it's really working well for you. Okay. So that's the first ritual. The second one is a ritual that you can do. And this could be a substitute for the Now That My Dream Is Fulfilled, or you could be doing this in advance of Now That My Dream Is Fulfilled. And it's a process that I learned from a wonderful teacher and a master by the name of Neville Goddard. And it is called the revision process. And why I love this process is because it's a process that will have you really connecting to your outcomes, to your desired goals, to only the things that you want. And how it works is you choose one idea or one goal that you're going to focus on. And let's say it's a goal of purchasing a home. We'll use that as an example. And perhaps one of the goals that you've set for yourself is earning a certain kind of income. But yet, during the day, you've either looked at your bank account and you didn't see the money there, or maybe you saw your sales report and the sales weren't there, or whatever it is. In other words, the reality of what's currently occurring in your life is not a match for what you want. And you've been allowing yourself to get emotionally involved in the existing circumstance, which keeps you continually engaged in that energy, circulating around that energy, and continuing to reproduce similar kinds of results, like more lack or more debt and things like that. So if you try a revision process and choose one vision, so if it's a money goal, as an example, or it's a purchase of a home goal, for example, just choose one. Then you could revise your day and you could see yourself opening up your bank account statement. And what you see there now is the number that you desire to see in there. So let's say your bank account currently only has a relatively small amount of money, but what you would love to have in your bank account is $3.48 million. And I'm just picking a number out of the air, right? So the revision process involves you becoming connected to that outcome, but seeing it, like visualizing it as if it's vividly real. So you create all the senses of reality. So what would that be? And this is all done in your imagination. So as you're drifting off into sleep, you're thinking about what it is that you desire. And we're using the financial goal here as an example. I said earlier, buying a home, and that could be it as well, but let's use a financial goal. And instead of what you saw that day or what occurred that day, what you're doing is just before you're getting ready to go to sleep, you're thinking, well, now what I'm visualizing is I'm seeing my day where either bunch of sales came in, or your sales results or your sales reports are reflective of that, or you looked at your bank statement online and then you saw this new balance, which is exciting and rewarding and fulfilling, and that's what you saw. And so this revision process is a process that you can do every single night. Every single night. And it can be done, this revision process can be done with something as simple as, let's say, and I've actually coached people who were looking to get into a committed relationship, and there was someone that they really wanted to go out with, and what they did was they saw that person calling them and asking them out on a date, or they saw themselves going on a trip somewhere, or they saw themselves purchasing that home, or they saw themselves selling the home or selling a place and moving to another place, or they saw a transaction occurring that they've been working on, maybe a proposal coming to fruition that they had worked on for a long time. So in other words, you can use this process called the revision process for anything. Anything. Just decide what it's going to be. It's called the revision process. All right. And there's an example in Neville Goddard's book called The Power of Awareness, where Neville talked about a woman who used this process to reconnect with her family because they had become distant. And this woman had a son who was married with a couple of children. And for some reason, their relationship had been, challenged, and they hadn't been in contact with each other. And this woman, a grandmother, really wanted to see her grandchildren. So what she did was, and we're going back a number of years because Neville Goddard wasn't here on this planet while the World Wide Web was opened up. So it wasn't at the point where we were texting each other or we were sending emails. So in her experience of the revision process, what she revised as an occurrence for her was that she saw a letter that came in the mail from her son. And in her mind, she had written it verbatim. So it was a letter that was addressed to her, and it said something like, "Dear Mom, we really miss you, and it's time that we got back together again. We'd love for you to see the children again, and let's get together." And it was something like that. So what this woman did was she wrote that letter in her imagination, and at night as she was going off into sleep, she would do this revision process for that particular example. And so as you can see, the revision process could be used for your goal. It could be used for a short-term goal, a long-term goal. It could be used to overcome a current challenging situation that you have occurring in your life. But the whole essence of this exercise and the previous exercise that I mentioned is really tapping into and utilizing your imagination, which is such a powerful tool. And I know there was a question earlier about how do you use the imagination, or how do you really perfect utilizing your imagination? And it is through doing these practices, by just doing it, right? By just becoming active. Every one of us has imagination. Every one of us is creative. But if you continue to tell yourself that you're not, well, then obviously you're not going to even allow that experience to occur. So sometimes we're in our own way when it relates to even actively using these techniques. And so if you're using the revision process for your goal, or for an experience, or a particular solution that you would love to have occur in your life, you can do that in those few moments before you're going off into sleep. And you could also ask yourself, now that my dream is fulfilled, how do I feel? And perhaps they're going to be the same kind of responses. But nonetheless, when you do these things before you go off into sleep, you are going to be going off into sleep in such a wonderful, harmonious, vibrationally connected to your outcomes experience, which will have your subconscious mind going to work for you while you're resting. And that's the way it works. So the third item that I would suggest as an evening ritual is a ritual that I also do. And that is by listening to me talk to me. And it's a version of my Power Life script, but I call it a nighttime version. And I actually teach this in the course, Power Life Script. And you can check that out at powerlifescript.com. We have a free book that we give away. If you'd like to download the book, Celine will put the link on all 3 platforms, on YouTube in the chat box, on Instagram, and she'll put it on the Facebook page as well, so that you can get the free book. And so essentially, what is a nighttime Power Life script? A Power Life script, first of all, before we get to what a nighttime one is, a nighttime Power Life script a Power Life script is where you've scripted your life, including all the senses of reality, where you are seeing and feeling and embodying your amazing life as if it's already here now. And a nighttime version would be, and of course you write it, you record it, and you listen to it. And a nighttime version would just be a quieter version. And so with mine, I actually give you some samples of that in the Power Life Script program that I created. So for mine, I start out by saying the following: Peggy, as you drift off into sleep, know that. And then I just talk to myself very quietly. Now I'm recording from a script that I've written. And as I'm listening to it, I find that I have a big smile on my face. And one of the blessings now I find is that we have these little things called earbuds, little things you put in your ears that don't have wires. They're wireless headphones essentially. And there's a number of different products. I use the Apple product, but I know there's other brands that have them available. But one of the reasons why I like the earbuds so much is because they don't have wires. So, and I've gone to sleep with headphones on with wires, but typically what I would do if I'm going to bed with headphones on with wires is I put the headphone on my ears and have the wire at the back of my head so that if it's at the front, less chance of, if you're flipping around in bed, less chance of it going around your neck, which of course you don't want to do. So my recommendation is to use the wireless headphones, and there's many different kinds of those, and you listen to it and you'll very likely fall asleep. I do. And it's okay, because even if it continues to play, it's still going into your subconscious mind. And this is such a powerful time to do this. It is such an amazing time. And this will have a big impact on your life as well. There's so few people that actually do this, but I absolutely know with certainty that if you'll do this, it will make a big difference on your life. So that's the nighttime or evening time Power Life script. And I listen to it actually as I'm going off into sleep. So if I'm hopping into bed, sometimes the first process that I'll do is now that my dream is fulfilled, how do I feel? And then I'll plug in my little earbuds and start listening to that and go off into sleep. And sometimes I've woken up and they're still playing. So if my earbuds, I'm constantly recharging them because I listen to them throughout the day as well, because I listen to my Power Life script several hours during the day. And so at nighttime, I've woken up and they're still playing. I think they last around 4 or 5 hours in length. And it's okay, because you're very likely going to rest really, really well. Now, I want to talk about a couple other evening rituals that I've also done that I think are very valuable to do. So I've mentioned the 3 most powerful ones that I found that I do, but here's a couple others that I will mention, and then I'm going to get to answering questions, because I know we've had several questions that have been submitted, and I want to make sure that I get through as many as I possibly can today. So the next one is, I talked about this the other morning when we were doing our morning rituals special event for the multimillionaires. And this is an identity board exercise. And many years ago, what I did was I took a sheet of Bristol board that I bought at an Office Depot store, put my photo in the middle, and on top, I wrote the words, "Who is this woman anyway?" And then I wrote all kinds of adjectives like professional, inspired, multimillionaire, happy, joyful, fun, funny, motivated, determined, persistent. And I just wrote all these words to describe, an achiever and New York Times bestselling author. And I wrote all these things on this big Bristol board, and I did it in different fonts and different colors so that it would have a greater impact. And I put it directly beside my bed. And then every morning I would wake up and I would see that, and it would remind me, this is who I choose to be today. And at nighttime, since we're talking about nighttime rituals today, at nighttime, what I would do is I would look at that board, my identity board, and I would ask myself, is this who I was today? And just be honest with myself. And if not, maybe it would just remind me. It was a wonderful reminder, and it was a really good confidence builder as well. So that was one of the things that I did. Another exercise that I would do at nighttime is I would write down the 6 things that I was going to do the next day, my priority action items. And this is a habit that I got into many years ago when I heard how effective it is in productivity increase. So this can significantly increase your output, the things that you do and how well you do them, if you create your list of the 6 items that you will accomplish, the next day. Now, for some strange reason, my live on Facebook has stopped. We'll get it back live again. There we go. All right, great. So we're back with Facebook again. Not sure why that just dropped off like that, but it did, and it is what it is. And so we're just adjust. And you know what? Life's like that. When things happen that are unexpected, which they can occur, that we just have to let it go with the flow and adjust. And so that's what I did right there. Okay, so we're talking about evening rituals. We're talking about action items, accountability items, and I've already mentioned five rituals for the evening. I talked about asking yourself, now that my dream is fulfilled, how do I feel? I talked about the revision process. I talked about the Power Life Script evening version, the quiet version. I talked about an identity board, and I talked about the 6 things that you will do the next day. Now, there are other things, little things that you can do. You can look at your goal card. If you have a goal card, I always keep mine right beside my bed. Look at your goal card just before you go off into sleep. Some people like to write before they go to sleep, and they'll write different affirmations, or they'll write their goal statement out. That's another great exercise to do before bed. Some people love to read from powerful and empowering materials, books, and so they'll read before they go into bed. But either way, what you're thinking about in those moments just before you drift off into sleep is going to be so impressionable on your mind that you really want to be paying attention to what you're thinking about and what you're doing before you go to bed. Okay, now we're going to head over to the questions that has been that are coming in. Oh, thank you, Lorraine. I appreciate you saying that. I appreciate you very much. Thank you for thanking me. Hi again, Adele. Sorry, I don't know why the Facebook Live just stopped, but it did. Okay, let's get over to our questions. We have a lot of questions that have been submitted, and I want to make sure I answer as many as I possibly can for you. And these are all really great questions, and you may or may not have had these questions, but I think if you stick around for this part of the call, you're really going to be glad that you did. Okay, so the first question was asked by Murray. Murray is saying, should my goal only have one goal, or should it have both goals on it? Your thoughts would be greatly appreciated. We own a beautiful 650-acre farm in rural Queensland, taking it to auction in the coming months. Goal number 1, sell our property for the amount we would like so as to relocate to the small property on the coast. Goal 2, purchase a new 4-acre property and beautiful home on the Queensland coast, i.e. sea views, semi-retirement, similar dollars involved. Okay, great. So they're in harmony. So what I hear, Murray, is that you're looking to sell the property and then buy the other property. So you could have a goal statement that says something like, I'm so happy and grateful now that we have purchased, and I would put the purchase first. I'm so happy and grateful now that we purchased our beautiful 4-acre, you can describe it as you wish, and that we easily sold, our previous, and what do you call it? How did you say it? Rural Queensland, 650 acres. We previously sold our previous property for more than what we desired. We're happy and grateful for all transactions as they all occurred harmoniously, smoothly, and easily, and for the good of all concerned. It could be something like that. So write a statement. It's really one statement, but for you, it's going to have you selling the previous property and purchasing the new property. So thank you for asking, Murray. That was a great question. Lindy says, how long can it take to get into the state of the wish fulfilled? I love that question, Lindy. Thank you so much for asking. And the answer to that question is, bam, it could be like that, just like that. It doesn't have to take any time at all. And the reason is because if I ask you right now, Lindy, whatever your goal is, assume that it's already been fulfilled. Just do that right now. What occurred? Well, your imagination occurred. You started to think about you having that goal or having that manifestation. Same thing with Murray. It's done. So Murray, imagine that it's done. Okay, you've sold your place. You bought this new one. You're happy. You love it. It's perfect. It's wonderful. And everything happens smoothly, easily, and harmoniously. So that can happen like bam, in a second, in a matter of a second. So that's how long it takes. And I suggest you don't take a lot longer than that. It's not necessary to take a lot longer than that. If it is taking longer than that, you are simply getting in your own way. Okay, thank you for that. Tanya, how do you prevent yourself from going down the rabbit hole of worrying around money while carrying out your morning rituals? How do you stop the stinking thinking? I love your question, Tanya. Thank you so much for asking. Well, what you do is you get into the habit of being ready to switch away from what you don't want over to what you do want. So you create tools. And one of those tools would be a very simple tool, and I'll suggest this one to you. It's a tool that I've used anytime I start going down a rabbit hole, as you said, of concern or worry. I just ask myself a very simple yet powerful question. What would I love? What would I love? And the moment I ask myself that question, what would I love? Obviously, it's going to take my attention away from what I don't want, and it's going to put my attention over to what I do want. So that's what you want to do. You want to take your attention away and do it like that, like fast, fast, fast. Get really good at it. How you get good at it is by conditioning. Now, there are other things that you can do. I remember years ago, there was an exercise where you could put an elastic, a rubber band around your wrist, and you snap it anytime you think something negative. I'm not a big fan of that, but I've done it, many years ago, probably back in the 80s, and I do find it is effective because your wrist is going to get sore, right? Keep snapping that and snapping that and snapping that. You'll end up with a nice red wrist. So that might break the pattern of thinking negatively. But what happens is we're habitual thinkers. We're in patterns of thoughts. Excuse me, we're in patterns of thinking. So you want to stop the patterns, right? You want to interrupt them with a new way of thinking. Asking yourself an empowering question is a great way to do it. All right, the next question is from Tamara. Tamara says, I noticed that you have an accountability group you speak to each morning to discuss your goals, etc. I know this is Think and Grow Rich as the Mastermind Group. It has been hard for me to find such supportive friends or people that are willing to do this daily. Stop saying it's hard. Simple, but the moment you think it's hard, it is. If you think it is, if you think it isn't, you're right. Until I can find this mastermind group, am I missing out on not fulfillment of my dream? No, you are not. You don't have to have a mastermind group. It's wonderful to have a mastermind group, but you don't have to have one. So it sounds like Tamara's doing everything except that step. It's okay. You don't have to. It's not about doing all these things. What the manifestation process is all about is how are you feeling? That's the priority. All right. So if you're just walking around all day long, living in a dreamlike state, connecting to your outcomes as if they're here, bam, you got it. Like you nailed it. If you're using Power Life Script and that's the thing that's putting you into that state and the connection and the embodiment of your ideal life, then great. Do it and do it over and over and over again until you feel it as it's natural. So it's not about what are you doing. This is really about manifestation is about what you're feeling. All right. My second question, this is Tamara again, is sometimes I feel body sensations. I used to physically vibrate a lot, but not as intense anymore. It was more so when I was actively meditating, but I know I feel these subtle sensations that is hard to explain, but I'm thinking it's because of all the positive things I do to listen to your videos, read your books, etc. Also listen to Abraham Esther Hicks, and they mention it means your energy is moving and it will eventually go away, and it's not a good thing or a bad thing. I try to look at it as a positive thing, but then I get worried I don't feel it as often and thinking maybe it means I'm off track. Have you ever experienced this, and do you see it as evidence that I'm moving in a positive direction? Well, the vibration, is it a feel-good vibration? Is it something that is causing you to feel good? Then if so, great. It's putting you in alignment, I suspect. And I suspect what's going on is it's your paradigms. Because when we're changing ourselves, when we're conditioning ourselves to think differently, when we're conditioning ourselves to feel differently, which is really we're looking to produce better results, there's a change going on inside our emotional body, our physical body, our spiritual body. There's a change going on, and very likely that's why you're experiencing the vibration. And whether it's happening, sometimes not at all, maybe it's not happening more, that's okay. I wouldn't be concerned about it at all. It could be that you're getting more into a natural state of knowing that it's already done. And if so, that's a wonderful place to be. So thank you for asking. The next question. Oh, it's Tamara again. Do you renew your 700 plus domain names every year? I specialize in search engine optimization. I used to create niche sites, but some old sites don't produce anymore, and or domains have been penalized by Google algorithms, etc. So I often debate whether or not it's worth to renew. Just curious. Yeah, I renew almost all of them. And so that's obviously several $1,000s every year of renewals. And I'm adding more. I added another one this morning, and probably a couple yesterday. And so sometimes I'll look at them because I get statements from Google that say they're coming up for renewal. and I will decide if I'm going to keep them or not. Sometimes I let them go, but I would say the majority of them, I absolutely renew. Next one is from Mary, and she says, does your C-type goal get more logical after you've accomplished the first one? That's a great question. Not necessarily. And I think it's, interpretation of what is a C-type goal. But I do know this, that when you set your, let me just, for those of you that don't know what a C-type goal is, a C-type goal is a goal that scares and excites you at the same time. So it's going to stretch you. I like to call them stretch goals. And I have found over time that as I've set stretch goals and achieved those stretch goals, there's still fear involved, right? Because you're producing something you've never done before. So you're starting to feel differently and vibrate differently. And then, of course, it can be a scary situation. And so I find that do they become even greater goals or more stretch goals? Maybe. I do find that the results just keep getting better and better all the time. I also have found, and I think you'll appreciate this, that when you are into an active goal creation, manifestation mode, which I've now been in for many, many years, that you'll realize that nothing is impossible. And that's pretty exciting. It's exciting when you discover what that incredible power is that's within you. So I think there's so many tremendous benefits from all of that. Okay, Vishma says, what do you do when you get a negative response from the people or a situation? Just let it go. We're always in control of how we feel. I have a great ability to just let things go real fast. I don't harbor negative emotions, bad emotions. I don't hold resentment or anger because it's destructive for me. It's incredibly destructive for a human being to hold on to negative emotions. So I've learned that over the years of my study, and I've just made a clear decision to let it go, recognizing that I am the one that's in charge of how I feel, always, in all ways. All right, next question is from Asha. Asha says, I so love your house stories. My concern is, can I manifest a house that I wanted to buy but sold to someone else but canceled the deal due to a wrong decision? Can I manifest a house back? Sure, if you want. Sure, that or something better. So absolutely. So what you could do is just declare that you have purchased it back and that it was a transaction that was pleasing for all. And then you could say that it's either that house or something better. You gotta remember that when we set intentions, and this has been just an incredibly wonderful experience for me. I remember years ago, I bought a house and I bought it off a builder. And it was a beautiful, like, one-story home with a triple car garage, and it had marble fireplace and gorgeous hardwood floors and ceramic countertops and beautiful fireplaces. It was just a gorgeous, gorgeous home on a nice piece of land. And I bought the home off a builder, and I had another home prior to that, which I had on the market for sale. And when I purchased the home from the builder, we put a condition in the deal. And the condition was, as soon as my house sold, we would firm up the deal and I would move into the new bungalow that was being built. And so I was very actively involved in choosing all the different things for this home, the type of marble and the granite countertops and the flooring. And I got to choose it all, which was a really fun experience. So I was obviously emotionally involved in the home. Well, what happened was, after a couple months or a few months had gone by, the market was increasing. The real estate market was increasing, which is a good thing. But I hadn't sold my house yet, the one that I was in at the time. And I decided, well, I'm going to keep that house. I'll rent it out and I'll just firm up the deal on my beautiful home that I was purchasing. So I went to the builder and I said, I'm going to firm up the deal and remove the condition, which was my legal right. And the builder said, sorry, I'm not going to sell you the house. I said, what do you mean? We have a legally binding contract. The only condition was that I had the option of removing this condition or selling my home. And she said, too bad, sue me. And I remember at the time being like blown away. First of all, completely out of integrity, which is certainly not someone I'd want to deal with anyways, but it was completely out of integrity. And I was upset and I was sad because I was in love with this home. But I realized that something better was in store for me and I just let it go. I mean, I was upset at the moment. I went home, I even cried, let it go. It's like, okay, gone, right? Just let that emotion go. And then she had mentioned, it was interesting because the builder had told me the reason why she didn't want to firm the deal up was because she felt the market had gone up and she felt she could get more money for the house that she had sold me. So she was going to relist it on the market for a lot more money. And then she compared it to another house that was for sale, which I wasn't aware of because I wasn't looking for another house for sale. So she mentioned another house that was backing onto a golf course, on a private golf course. And it was sitting on a beautiful piece of land, and it was a beautiful home. It was an older home. And so I went on the internet and I found this home, and it's like, wow, it looks really interesting. And it needed some decoration, and it needed some renovations and things like that. So I called a real estate agent and he took me to see the home. I walked in the front door and I had a total head to toe goosebump experience. I knew I was going to buy this home. And I could tell my son loved it as well. I wasn't even married to Denny at the time, so we're going back a number of years ago now. But I just knew I was going to buy this home. And I said to the real estate agent, I said, we're going to buy this home. He said, do you want to see the rest of it? I hadn't even seen the whole house. And I said, sure. So we went and saw the house, and I put an offer and I bought that house, and we renovated it, and it was beautiful, and ended up selling it several years later. But the point is that the house that I originally had intended didn't come to fruition. But I got something even better, even more beautiful. It was a gorgeous home on a really beautiful piece of land. So something better came along. So sure, set the goal to manifest that house back. But if it doesn't occur, just know something better is going to come along. All right, now we have a few more questions. We'll just wrap up with those. And then we'll okay, here we are. Yasir says, is it all right to have as many affirmations, including the fulfillment of a specific goal? Yes, it is. You could have multiple affirmations for the same goal. Or should we stick with one affirmation? Have as many as you want. Yasir says, do you have any tips on developing the imagination? Yeah, I was talking about that in the beginning of the call. Do these practices, like actively invest the time to focus only on what you want. Genevieve says, when I'm listening to my Power Life script all day, I get so excited. Is there such a thing as getting too excited? I get giddy like a kid in a candy store. I like that, Genevieve. That's good. I think what'll happen, though, is you'll get to a point where you'll just know it's done and you'll feel it naturally, and you probably won't be getting giddy because it's just like, oh, this is already done. So it's good. It's a progression. That's what I see here. Okay, somebody called I Am Here to Serve. I love that. What a great name. Me too. I am here to serve. You recently hung out with Bob Proctor. What was the biggest insight after years of working close and succeeding like you have? I would say, there's two things that come to mind as far as biggest insights. And the first one is, and it's one that I learned from Bob 40 years ago, and it goes like this. He says, decide what you want, but you don't have to know how you're going to get it. And I just love that whole idea. Just decide what you want. Connect to what it feels like to already have it. Just decide. And because so many people just don't even set a goal because they don't know how they're ever going to achieve it. And they don't pursue that goal because they don't know how they're ever going to achieve it. You don't have to know how. So that is a great lesson I learned from Bob. And then another one is that stay in the study. Like, it's essential. It's like the air you breathe. To really be in the study, stay in the study. It's absolutely important. I remember one time someone asked Bob Proctor this question. They said, how do I speed up my results? And he said, increase your awareness. How do you increase your awareness? You increase your awareness by staying in the study. Thank you, Celine. I just saw your comment. That's why I'm laughing. I love that. Okay, Mark says, you mentioned in the last stream that with Bob, you had to handle suicidal thoughts. What affirmations did you use? I have an abusive past that resembles yours. I am battling the paradigm. Wow, Mark, that's thank you so much for asking the question. I love that. I honestly don't remember what the affirmation was back then that I said to myself, maybe I'm worthy of living. I'm worthy of life. My life gets better and better all the time in every way. It was probably something simple like that. I mean, I was 17. I'm 61 years of age right now, but I was 17 when I was suicidal, and 17, 18 time frame. And by the time I met Bob, I was 19, 20. I wasn't much better, but at that point, I wasn't sitting on a park bench thinking, how am I going to end it all? I was, but still pretty miserable. So it was a simple affirmation. I'm sure, my life gets better and better every day in every way. It could be something like that. I still say that affirmation today, by the way. It's such a good affirmation. All right. Peter says, how about saying affirmations while falling asleep? Like, I'm a happy and healthy multimillionaire. Perfect, Peter. That is a great thing to do. Absolutely. Jennifer says, I am lost. Where can I start to create positive change in my life? Right here. Study, Jennifer. Go online. I received an email the other day from Sonova, who's actually on the call. It wasn't an email. It was a little message that she wrote saying that she's been studying everything I've done. I have so much content on my YouTube channel. Go there and start studying. I believe I've created probably 500 little videos. You can go there and just start to study, saturate your mind with really, really good stuff. Okay, guys, well, this is a wrap for today. I'm so delighted that you're here to join me. We're going to be back next week. We're going to be doing some more live events. Please watch for the notifications of those events. We're here to serve you. We're going to be answering questions again. I just love being with you. I love serving you. I love helping you experience more of everything that you deserve to experience in your life. If you're not a subscriber to my morning manifestation messages, they're free, delivered 3 times a week. Please go to morningmanifestation.com. Celine, is that link working? I know it was sort of out of order there for a little bit, but please go to morningmanifestation.com and you'll be able to register for that. Maylin just typed in a question here. I'm just going to get to Maylin's question before we answer. She says, or before we wrap up, she says, how do you feel as far as making things happen, allowing things to happen? Well, force never works. So we can't force anything. And I don't know whether that's what you mean or not. You can't force. You have to allow it. But there's work that we have to do. And the work that is responsible for us to do is to, yay, the link is working great. Thank you, Trace. The work that we're required to do is to make decisions on what we love, to get connected to what does that feel like now that we have it, doing things like the Power Life script, being a part of my community for Pure Magic Monthly, staying in the study. These are all really, really good things that you can be doing to allow. And really what you're doing is you're allowing the universe to make these things happen for you, but you're working in harmony with the laws. That's what you want to really be doing. And it's not about force. It is about a concentrated effort. It's about using your will. It's about using your imagination. It's about trusting your intuition. It's about really tapping into all of these things, connecting to your goals as if they're already materialized emotionally. All of that is absolutely essential. All right, guys. Well, I'm so grateful to be here with you. I wish you a wonderful day. I look forward to being back again with you very, very soon. Okay. Bye for now.